Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. This series of videos is all about trying to achieve that perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. I have been quilting for decades. This continues to be something that I have struggled with, and I noticed a few of our team members are using some of these aids to assist them with getting, just really dialing in that perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I thought it was time to share with you the notions we've found. Now, we all know that there's other elements going into very accurate piecing. They're on the table with us. I'll touch on those very briefly. One thing I've been really enjoying doing is when I have fabrics, maybe they have wrinkles, maybe they don't, adding that sizing to the fabric, pressing everything out good and flat, and then starting with a fresh blade in my rotary cutter. That alone is already setting me up for success. Of course, very accurate rulers. We love to use our creative grid. Patchwork pins, I can't emphasize enough, a good quality, very thin gauge, but strong needle is going to be important so that as you pin things together, nothing is shifting while you're stitching everything together. And then of course a fresh blade, or actually a fresh needle in your sewing machine. We like to use our Schmetz, the 8012 needle. Once that's all done, now we're going to talk about that all important 1/4 inch seam allowance. The first notion that I will be showing in this series is from Cluck Cluck Sew. This is actually called the diagonal seam tape. This has been out for a while. I have now seen a lot of our team members who are sewing our samples have this on their machine daily. So we're going to come around on the other side on the table, kind of my bird's eye view, and I'm going to show you how to put this on your machine. You don't need to have a high-end machine. This will work with absolutely any sewing machine. And I love that there's a nice amount of tape that's included in the package. You can remove this from your sewing machine. It'll leave absolutely no residue. So I'll head over to the sewing machine, meet me there, and I'll show you, I'll get some tape on our machine, and we're gonna sew with 2.5 inch strips an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance using the aid of our diagonal seam tape. So I'm sewing on a Bernina 770 Quilter's Edition, but again, this is a product that can be used with any sewing machine. On this particular table, Bernina has printed some lines that really help us get lined up as we're going into the needle and trying to get that 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is my center line that is here, and then it continues right here. Our tape, let's just look at the tape just initially. We have our center line, which is our red, and then to the right 1/4 inch and to the left 1/4 inch. My goal is to line up that red line to be as straight in line with that as I possibly can. Now on my Bernina, that happens to be right here. So I'm just going to extend a length of that. And my goal is to line up that. And I'm going to take a quick peek before I push that down and see if I feel like I'm lined up. So I'm going to roll that back. You see how in this instance, that red is right in with that line. And again, it looks like I'm lined up. I don't really want to go past this line. Certainly don't want to be interfering with the feed dogs. So just smooth that down and we will cut. Now, as I come to my machine with my fabrics, I have a jelly roll strip. This is ombre confetti. You can see it's got a pinked edge. And I will place my jelly roll strips right side together. I did measure. These are a true 2.5, so I'm going to be sewing. My visual gaze will be right from that peak of that, and I will just be where those peaks are kind of riding right at that line. Okay. So I'm just going to step left. I'm going to sew that with this being my only aid, and then we'll come back and do a measurement check and see how well the diagonal seam tape helped me achieve that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, let's go to our pressing mat. If I'm going to be doing interlocking seams, I would press that seam to the side. In this instance, I'm just going to press that seam open all the way down. I like to press from the back and again from the front to make sure I didn't take a little bit of a tuck. So let's take a measurement check. I have a 4.5 inch by 18.5 inch creative grid ruler, and you can see that white line right there should go right down the seam. And there we have that. Look at that. Look how accurate that is. It's incredible. So this is true confessions. The 1/4 inch seam allowance has been and continues to be, up until I've been using these notions, a bit of a struggle to be consistent. And the more elements that go into a block, the more complicated it is, the more pieces, the more important that 1/4 inch seam allowance needs to be right where, right on the money, as they say. So this is a very affordable aid that's going to help make that possible. I will be back with our second video showing you another aid that I found that I'm also enjoying using. So be sure to, if you haven't already subscribed, just do that right now. I am always on the hunt for products, new video content that I think you will find enjoyable and maybe helpful in our pursuit of getting that perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll see you soon on another video.